Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the evening session of today's webinar, themed GNSS and Communal Field Power Session. We are so happy to have you here with us, and I believe that this session is going to be impactful and insightful and going to help you in your field operations, especially with regards to the GNSS equipment. So we'll wait for more people to join us. So while we wait, I'll play a video that will keep us busy before we commence formally. Thank you for joining us again. So good evening again. Welcome to today's webinar. I want to thank you for joining us early. So for more people to join us before we commence. So please don't get bothered by the silence. We're actually waiting for more people to join so they don't miss out on any session or any knowledge that will be shared during the webinar. So in the next 5 minutes, we'll be kickstarting the webinar. So please do bear with us. Thank you again for joining. Okay, I think we will just start now. So good evening again, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Favor Ahamefula, and I'll be serving as your host today. So we've already had the morning session of this webinar. The webinar is titled GNSS and Communal Field Power Session. So we already had the morning session. So this is the evening session. So what we'll be discussing today, we'll be discussing the latest innovations in GNSS and communal technology. We'll also be discussing field considerations in setting up your GNSS equipment. Then we'll also be addressing how to gain Survey Master mastery. That's using your Survey Master app to the best of its ability. That's maximizing your Survey Master app for your project. And then we'll be discussing some common field issues that you may have experienced on site and how to resolve them, and then how to properly care for your equipment, because it is your investment. So you have to care properly for it for you to get good return on your investment. So these are the topics we'll be discussing today. So we have the chat box, we have the question and answer box. So please, if you have a question, please drop it in the question and answer box. Then if you have a comment, if you're asked to engage with the speakers, please engage with them in the chat box. So for this session, we'll be having 2 speakers. We have 3 in the morning. Well, for the evening session, we'll be having 2 speakers, and they are Mr. Kenneth Emmanuel and Mr. Ajato Edwin. So please, I want us to get our books, get our pens, get your data logger for the step-by-step follow-up and follow through. Please, if you have questions, they'll be attended at the end of the session. Don't forget to drop them in the question and answer session. So thank you again for joining us, and I'm sure your time will be worth it. So let's get right into it. So Mr. Edwin will be taking us through the latest innovations in GNSS and ComNav. So Edwin, over to you, please.
Okay, so Good evening, everybody. Please, can I get a show of hand or just type anything if you can hear me on the chat box? Please signify that you can hear me before I continue. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so my name is Edwin, and I work at Otic Service. So on today's webinar, we'll be talking about GNSS and communal feed power. So for this session, I'm going to be taking you on latest innovations in GNSS and communal technology and their unique features. So, right from when surveying started in Nigeria and other countries, equipment and tools that we've been using to carry out surveying has been going from one stage to another. So we thank God for that, because it has really made our work as surveyors easy compared to how it was when it started years back. So, and going forward now, we've partnered with Comnaf Technology, which is also GNSS, as many people call it. We are their partners here in Nigeria. We deal on their products, so we sell everything related to GNSS, that is from GNSS receivers to the LiDAR scanners, even to echo sounders, and even drones, and so on and so forth. So that's what we deal on. Now, for latest innovations, when GPS started, then it was working as an handheld GPS, and later on they converted it into differential GPS. But today we have it as a global navigational satellite system. So it's not just a system that is only GPS alone. And GPS is the American satellite system. So GNSS is one of those companies that produce GNSS receivers that are used to carry out surveying and other positioning functions. So they've actually developed the receivers from having no tilt compensation. Now you have receivers that have tilt compensation. From tilt compensation, they started doing a long range base and rover connections. From long range base and rover connections, they entered fixed under canopy. So with that feature, you have receivers that even when you are under thick bush or canopy cover, you have fixed solutions. Now, the issue now, in short, the issue we have with most of our users is that they want to actually tell you that anytime they're asking you about equipment, they'll be asking you, can it fix under canopy? Can it fix under canopy? Of course, it is difficult to actually say that a receiver can fix under canopy, because what they do now is that they make the equipment to track more satellites, and when it's tracking more satellites, it has the ability to fix even in difficult positions. So that's where you get fixed under canopy from. But these days, with their recent innovations and improvement in their surveying equipment, you have a receiver that can not just only fix under canopy, it can also use laser to measure points. So we have a GNSS receiver, which is your RTK receiver. It has tilt compensation, it has fixed under canopy, it can go very long range. And now we have the ones that have laser, that you can stand, or you can even stay afar from the point you want to work, and then you just point your laser, and then get your coordinates and or you do your measurements from places where you are not where you can't access. So it's the same technology that the total station use, whereby you can stay in one point and then you send the laser signal from your total station to where your reflective prism is, and then the signal comes back to your total station to give you distance and also the coordinate of the points where you measure to. So it's the same technology now in GNSS receiver. So I think the latest receiver they have, which is the Jupiter Laser RTK, as you can see on the screen, can go as far as 50 meters. So your laser range with this equipment, you can stay and measure points that are 50 meters away from where you are. So these are some of the innovations that the equipment has. Now, why we like to talk about this innovation or this new feature is because most times, even with having receivers that can work under canopy, there are still different kinds of canopy cover. So there are some places you enter that just have maybe one or two trees, and when you go there, your receiver will fix. But there are some that, like, you enter a serious plantation where you have trees all around, and again, trees are very tall, and then on top of where you are is like covered with full shade. So even those your receivers that can track under canopy might still have difficulties getting fixed in those kinds of situations. So with this laser technology, what you do is you just step away from those areas where you can't have fixed solutions and point your laser to the places where you are having trouble, and then you do your job. So this laser technology really helps in terms of avoiding areas that have serious canopy cover. So we can't say it has actually solved the problem of no canopy fix, but at least it has reduced the problem to up to 95%. So these are some of the features and some of the latest innovations we have in our RTK, which is our ComNav GNSS receivers. See on the screen here, we have a Jupiter laser, which can go 50 kilometers, and then you also have the mass laser. And now, apart from the mass laser, we also have the LS300 laser scanner. So this laser scanner is a LiDAR scanner that scans that you can use to do 3D modeling of structures and buildings and anything you want to model. So they designed it to actually send signal from the device to is sending multiple signals from your receivers to the point where you are measuring, and then it can create a point cloud for you. So these are innovations that we've not even started using yet, but is already in the market. So it helps to actually is actually good for all these architects, and even surveyors can also use it as well. It helps you to do modeling of a building or a structure that has already been built. In real sense, architects draw a building plan, and then the engineers, with that plan, they will now construct the structure. So what this laser scanner can do is, even after building, you can still remodel your building. So for old buildings that you can't find their plan, or there are some that don't even have, you can use this LiDAR scanner to remodel the building, and then you get the plan and everything about the building the way it is on ground. So you can also incorporate it with your GNSS, so you have real-time LiDAR scanning, and then you have your georeference point cloud. So these are recent innovations in GNSS. So apart from these, the GNSS, which is common, also have echo sounders, they have RTK drones, they have auto steerings, and again, our course technology, which we've been trying to set up in different locations across Nigeria. So these are different innovations from the GNSS and also ComNav technology. Now, in also trying to explain what the laser can do, there's a video on the screen that we just want to run across for a few minutes. So the video will be playing now. So just watch and then we'll do explain what the video is saying. Okay, so I don't know if you understood what happened, but I would like to explain it. So as you can see now, the surveyor is trying to detail the building. Now, at the first point, he was able to pick the point using tilt, but upon going towards the other side of the building, now because of the way building structures are in most part of Nigeria, commonly in Lagos, you have high-rise building to your left, to your right, to your front, and to your back. So at the beginning of the building, the receiver was able to fix. Even with the teeth compensation, you could do your survey. But upon going into the compound, into the environment to pick the other point, the receiver did not fix because of the structures that were around. So it just had little space for it to track satellites. And with those little satellites available, it was not able to fix. So what happened was that we had to come out again. So we had to come out from those parts where it could not fix, got the fixed solution outside, and then pointed laser to those points that he was trying to measure before. So this is what happened, and this is what your laser can do for you. I hope this video explains a lot, and again, I hope you understood what this laser function can really do for surveyors. So you can use it for setting out as well. So it's not, and again, the receiver has a camera feature that you can use for AR sticker too. Those cameras will be directing you to those positions where your point is. So instead of using your compass and your north arrow to navigate to the point where you want to mark out a point, your camera and your controller and the receiver will just be directing you to the point where to the position where the point is. So it's actually easy to carry out setting out a point using this equipment and using this recent innovation. So that is all. Please remember that you can drop your questions on the chat box or on the question and answer section. So in due time, all your questions will be answered. So we'll be moving on to the next session, the next agenda we have for this session, for this webinar session, and that is field considerations in setting up your GNSS equipment. So it's no big English, it's no big grammar, it's just telling you the things you need to consider when you want to set up your GNSS equipment. Now, we've had some issues with some of our customers in the past, whereby they tell you that I've set up my equipment, I've done everything, I've done the base, I've done the rover, and then it will fix. But once I go up to 10 kilo, 100 meters or 50 meters, or even as far as 500 meters, it will just go back to single. Now, if you check from the original design of this equipment, you can go up to at least 5 kilometers. There are some that you can go up to 10 kilometers and even 50 kilometers if you are using the external radio. But because you did not set up the equipment where it will limit the range you are supposed to cover. So setting up your GNSS equipment is a very, very, very important matter that needs to be discussed. So how do you set up your GNSS equipment is the question we want to answer. Now, most importantly, when you're setting up your GNSS equipment, the base station is the one doing most of the work. Even the fact that you are going around with your rover and picking points, if you're going around with your rover and picking point and your base is not giving you correct correction, whatever you are doing with your rover is rubbish. So the base is the most important part of setting up your equipment. So we advise in short, it's not even our own advice. It is very, very necessary that you set up your base station in an area that has clear and open sky. So setting up your base close to a tall building is not advisable. Setting up your base under trees and under structures is also not advisable because it will limit the capabilities of your equipment. So we advise that you set up your base station in an area where you have clear open sky, far from tall buildings, away from tall trees, and even setting up your base under electric lines is not advisable. So you need to consider that when you are setting up your base station. So when you are setting up your base, you look for a position where you have no obstructions and nothing covering your GNSS receivers or hindering it from tracking satellites. So that is what you need to consider when you are setting up your GNSS equipment. And another thing to consider is that after setting up the base, you need to determine the work mode. When you're setting up, you need to determine the work mode that will work best for you. Now, our GNSS receivers have different mode of communication. That means the communication between the base and the rover. Now, if you are working in a project where you need to go very far from your base, you need to select a work mode that will allow you go longer distances. So we have the internal radio mode, we have the external radio mode, and even we have the SIM card mode that can even allow you go far, even up to 50 kilometers from your base station. But because of the type of job you want to do, you need to consider the one that will be favorable for you. So if you are working within a small plot of land, maybe 1 hectare, 2 hectares, that you don't need to go up to 1 kilometer, any work mode can work for you. Because with that, your range is not going, you are not going far from your base. So any work mode, even the internal radio work mode can work for you. So it's just finish your job, go back to your base station, pack up your equipment, and then you go. But for other projects whereby you need to go a longer distance, say like a road project or a pipeline project that you need to go very, very far from your base, you need to consider the work mode you are going to use to set up your base. Because if you do not set up your base properly and you intend to go up to 20 kilometers, upon going just 5 kilometers, you see that you can't get fixed solution again, you need to go back to your base and recalibrate. So these are the options you need to consider when you're setting up your base. Another thing you need to consider is that you need to set up your base station where it is safe. Most times you see surveyors set up a base station and then they just carry on. In short, it's not even advisable for a surveyor to go to site alone. So you go to site alone and then you just set up your base station, and then there's nobody monitoring the base station, there's nobody checking up on the base, there's nobody there to ensure that it is safe. So that is not advisable. So most times, in short, it is very, very important that when you set up your base, you have somebody there to monitor it. So, and then another thing you need to consider is you need to know the coordinate system that you are working on. So if by adventure you are working in an area that the UTM zone is 32, and then you are setting up with zone 31 or zone 33, it will give you errors in the setup. It will even tell you that your zone is not correct, and when you finally set up, it will give you wrong coordinates. So you need to consider these options before you set up your equipment. And then another thing you need to consider is that there are equipments that will tell you that you can set up your equipment. You can set up using auto base. There are some that you can set up using fixed position, but for GNSS, you can use both the auto base and also the fixed position. Now, setting up using the auto base means you will just set up the base, it will generate coordinate on its own, and then you take your rover to go and do calibration. So you can take a rover to the control, then you enter the coordinate of that control, and then it will use it to coordinate the base station. But sometimes you can still have errors when you're doing that. So it is always advisable to set up your base station in a control point. That is a position with known coordinates. So when you set up on that control or on that point, you are not using auto base, you are using fixed position. And anytime you're setting up with fixed position, it will ask you for the coordinate of the base station. So always set up your GNSS using auto base, using fixed position instead of using auto base. So these are some of the the uh, the things you need to consider when you're setting up your GNSS equipment. Now, in the aspect of setting up using your fixed position or using your auto base, you might go to a site where you don't have any control or any known point around. So that is where your call station comes in. So what you quickly do on that point, in that case, is that you first of all you connect to a call station, use it to establish a point on site, and then you can now set up your base station on that point that you've established. Also, there are some it may happen that you go for some project, and then the person you meet there, or probably some engineering project, and the engineer or people you meet on site, they will show you their controls. So it's just best to set up on their controls so that you be on the same network of, and your job, whatever you're going to do, is going to align with what they already have. So setting up your base station using fixed position is always advisable. So these are some of the things you need to consider when you're setting up your GNSS equipment for maximum accuracy and then maximum functionalities. If you have your questions, please drop them on the question and answer sessions or on the chat box. All your questions will be attended to in due time. So thank you very much, and then let's proceed.
Okay, thank you so much, Sylvia Edwin. Thank you for sharing that with us. Know about the latest innovations in GNSS products and what we should consider before setting up our GNSS equipment. That was very helpful. So I put up a poll, and is have you registered for the complete surveyors training? If you know about this training, if you've seen this flyer anywhere, type yes in the chat box. The flyer on the screen. If you've seen it on our socials, please type yes in the chat box. If you've seen this flyer anywhere, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, if you've seen it anywhere, please type yes. If you know about this training, type yes or no. Hope you can see my screen. I'm asking if you've seen this flyer or if you know about this training. If you've seen this flyer, if you know about the training, type yes. Or if you haven't, type no in the chat box. Okay. Clement says no. Shodeke says yes. Mr. Shodeke, you're saying yes. Okay. Who else? Who else knows about the training? Okay, without wasting much of our time, Otic Surveys, in collaboration with Josotech, is hosting a complete surveyor workshop, and it will be starting on the 28th of person, 28th of August to 29th. It's going to be a 2-day intensive training on the use of total station level, and GNSS. These things that Surveyor Edwin just mentioned, they'll be talked about in detail. So, and then for the total station and the level, we'll be training you on the applications in construction projects. So if you've been thinking and intending to penetrate the construction industry for a while, this is your opportunity to gain that skill that will set you apart in the construction industry. So this is not a training that you want to miss. So who is this training for? It's for registered surveyors, it's for graduate surveyors, it's for students, it's for pupil surveyors, it's for site engineers, it's for construction workers. So this training is going to be value packed. There are a lot of things you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to do proper resectioning. You're going to learn how to carry out static. So the next session, the speaker will be talking about how you can maximize your Survey Master app, and we mentioned something about static positioning. So because in some projects, you will not be allowed to do auto base or do site calibration. They want you to set up over a control. So that's why you need to know how to carry out static survey. So we'll be talking about this, and also how to process your data after post-processing of static data. So we'll be dealing with this in details at this training, during this training. So it's not a training that you want to miss. So I'll put the link to register in the chat box. Please do well to register. So let's go on to the next session, which is Survey Master App Mastery. And Surveyor Kenneth will be taking that session. So, Surveyor Kenneth, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Favor. Can you hear me? 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 Okay, so thank you. So I'll start by saying that a farmer that doesn't know how to use a cutlass or a hoe, according to Fela, na Pako farmer. So a surveyor that doesn't have the correct tool, or has it but doesn't know how to use it, is Paco. So is a palasa. He has how to become a good surveyor. So I'll be taking you through basically A to Z of the Survey Master app, from setting it up to picking points. So I'll be sharing my window. If you can, once it comes up, if you can see it, you let me know. Okay. I'm trying to. Okay. So when you open your Survey Master app, this is what you are going to see. So we have 4 pages on the app. We have the project page. On the project page, you have everything that concerns setting up your project, modifying it, everything that has to do with working on your project, the project you are working on is on the project page. On the device page, it has to do with everything that deals with a device setting, the information, the connection, the setting, the work mode. Everything is on the device page. You have the survey page. This is where everything you do on site, picking points, staking out points, staking out lines, staking out road or electric poles, they are on this survey page. On the tools page, it does it's focused on calculation. So we have area calculation, earthwork, coordinate geometry. Every work you want to do about coordinate geometry is on this COGO. Card alignment, laser ranging. So they are on the tools page, and there are more. So we are going to start by, you can begin. Survey Master is one of the very few survey apps that allows you to do settings without connecting to a GNSS receiver. So you can decide to first of all connect the receiver you want to work on, or you can start by the project page. So when you open the project, when you click the project, it takes you to this page. You have to create a new project if you are working for the first time. But if you are not working for the first time, you can click the project you want to work on as if you have used it before. And then you click on open. This green icon signifies open. This signifies delete. Upload to cloud, but don't, because you don't have any account with on the cloud. So this is about sharing the project you've done. So this, when you've opened an already existing project. So we are going to create a new project. Now you will name this. It's already giving it an automatic name by giving it date. So we are going to name it demo. Now, the next step we have to do is go and choose our datum. You click this datum store. You click datum store again. So that means you click datum store twice. So when you come to this page, usually you might have coordinates. This is where your coordinate systems will be listed. But this is a new, we are doing it as if we are starting afresh, as this is your first time of opening a Survey Master app. If you put your coordinate system now, it's going to be there until you delete it, modify it. So to create a new datum, which you work with, we're going to click this more on the far right of the screen. So you can click add from the predefined. So the coordinate system that are on the predefined are the popular UTM minas, zone 31, zone 32, and zone 33. So in this predefined, we click the predefined and we go to the country. We change China and look for Nigeria. So when we come to Nigeria, we can see that we have Mina UTM 31N. N stands for north. We have Mina UTM 32N. We have Mina UTM 33N. So when you click the one you want to work on, depends on your zone. Nigeria is grouped into these three zones. So we click OK. Now, it will automatically save it because it is what predefined. But there is something you need to toggle on. So when you select it and say okay, and it takes you to the page of the Nigeria Mina UTM 31 North. This geoid model, you have to turn it on if you want to work with elevation that is on the mean sea level. So the geoid model is a file that converts ellipsoidal height into mean sea level height. So there's already EGM 96 pre-installed that comes with the app. So select it. And then we say okay. So it has given us, it has already collected that as the data we want to work with. But we have, let's put other datum, other coordinate system, like the NINA 32, 33, UTM, national, and WGS 84. So we'll put 32. Remember, when you want to use it, turn on the geoid file. Okay, so now these are the predefines. Every other coordinate system, we have to customize it ourselves. We have to add it ourselves. So we'll go to customize. We'll start with WGS 84. Some people usually request they usually request that they want the coordinate system to be in WGS 84. So it means that when the source is from WGS 84, the target ellipsoid has to be WGS 84. That means there is no conversion into any local system, into any local coordinate system. So these are the parameter, the semi major, and so now we can choose to work with UTM, which is understandable to us, or we can use the Kruger. So the Kruger is where you have the Gauss-Kruger projection, is where you will have the lat long. If you want to work with lat long, but you want to see it in Eastern and Northern, you put it in UTM. If you want to see it in Eastern and Northern, put it in UTM. So you just turn this on, or you can leave it off, since it's going to be ellipsoidal height you need in WGS 84. Or you can turn it on if you want to still use mean sea level height. So we are going to customize. We are going to start with national of mid. So we are going to use national mid belt. Some people know it as national, some people know it as NNO. Some people know it as mid belt. So it depends on what you are familiar with. So national and NNO, they are very popular. So when you are using national, you have to choose the target ellipsoid. The target ellipsoid for Nigeria is Clark 1880. This Clark 1880 or the Clark 1880 of ROGS, they are the same parameter. The ordinary Clark 1880 or the Clark 1880 ROGS, they are the same parameter. In case you did not see it in your, you did not see ordinary Clark 1880 in your own app. So you choose the sorry, when you are using mina, when you are using when you are doing national, you are going to use TM. TM stands for Traverse Magato. So we are going to now put the parameter, the origin latitude for mid belt, and we are going to put the center meridian. Center meridian for mid belt is 8 point, that's 8 degree 30 seconds, 30 minutes rather. So it's 8.5 in case your own is not in decimal. This is 4 degree if yours is not in decimal. So the first easting is 670 553.9898. The first nothing is 0. The scale is less than 1, which is 0.99975. Okay, let me this new app is okay. This new app is not, it sees 5 as 50 degree. Okay, so it's going to be 0.3, which is 30 degree. Since I can't type 0.6, so that means it doesn't. Okay, so this is the parameter for for the Traverse Magato for mid belt. So now some states have 7 parameters that they've already designed for themselves. Some states like Bayelsa, states like I think Enugu. But if your state doesn't have a parameter, just use the normal mina parameter, which is 92, -3 -122, and here will be 0. Mina is just 3 parameters. Okay, so we'll set up this, and we're going to choose BGM 96. So this is national mid belt. So that's for mid belt. If you are working with west belt, the parameter is a bit different. So the ellipsoid, target ellipsoid is still CAC 1880. The projection is Traverse Magato TN. But the central meridian origin latitude is 4 degree. The central meridian is 4 degree 30 seconds, 30 minutes. The first easting is 2:37 738.260. Because nothing is zero, scale is same as 99975, and project height is 0. So this is for wells built. You go to 7 parameters. Again, if your state has a parameter, you will input the parameter here. But if your state doesn't have parameter, you will use the normal 92, 93 minus 122. But most states in the West have their own parameter, like Ondo states. I've seen Ondo state parameters. I've seen Ogun State. Okay, so some states like Bayelsa, that uses mid belt. Some states like that uses mid belt, their own parameters is this way. One 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 916 87.852 minus 114.499 minus 1.8752 minus 0.2021 minus 0.2193 minus 0.03245. Okay, so some states like Bayelsa, that's their own parameter of for the NNO national. So we are going to now put the one we use in Lagos, which is vector 4. So this it goes the Lagos parameter, which is now vector 4. So it's the target elucid is Clacketinity. Projection is UTM. Lagos uses UTM. If you are connected to, if you are unsure of your zone, you can connect to your receiver and click get. It's going to give you the zone you are in, because some states have 31 and 32. Some states have 31 and 32. You might not be in 31 and you are putting 31. Just connect to your receiver and click get. It's going to automatically tell you the zone it is under. So the 7 parameters for Lagos goes as follows. We have 180.472174. 98.214. 179 minus 113 1056 minus 4.9440 624 74056 minus 0.0137 131 683. So you have to be very careful so that you will not miss a digit, because it's going to really affect whatever you are doing. Is just like I don't know if you have heard of the concept called the butterfly effect. I don't know if you've heard of the concept called the butterfly effect. So if you miss one small digit, it's going to cause ripple effect in all your work. So this is the vector 4 parameter. I'll hold on. So change the turn the geoid model on, and then you say okay. So this is Lagos. So we're going to be applying the Lagos own, and we say okay. And then we've set up, we've successfully set up our project for demo. Demo, the owner of the land at webinar. So our next is to connect our device. So we're going to connect our base first, because you need to set up the base so that it will be the one to be sending correction before you set up the rover. So we're going to connect our base first. This is our base.
Device connected. Rover.
So now we've connected it. We go to base, click new. Now in this setup, this is where you have startup mode. In this startup mode, you have auto base and you have fixed position. Now, if you are putting your base on an unknown point, that's where you use auto base. That's the point where you are putting up you're setting up your base is not coordinated. But if the point where you are setting up your base is coordinated, use fixed position. So auto base, what auto base does is that the base automatically generates coordinates of where it's standing, where it's set up on. So the accuracy is not certain. But fixed position, it uses the coordinate you give it to set up for the for the base. So the differential mode is the OTCM 3.2. It's how fast it sends data, the type of data it sends. So now we are going to the data link setting. This is where you do your setting of the type of the mode you want your base to send its correction. It can be internal GSM, internal radio, external radio, or WebM trip. UAV base, that's when you are using. So this UAV base is when you are using an unmanned vehicle. You want to use it as a base. So it's going to be sending directly to the UAV device. The external radio is when you are using external radio antenna, so that you can go more further distance than it normally does when you use internal radio. Some GNSS internal radio 3 kilo, 5 kilo, 10 kilo, 15 kilo. Internal GSM is when there's a SIM inside the base. So it will be transmitting through that SIM card to wherever you set up as the receiving channel. So it can be on a server. It can be, it's usually on a server. You can now put the server's setting. You put the server setting and use the base as the base name. So we are going to be using internal radio to set up. Now, when you click internal radio, you are going to now choose the protocol. Whatever protocol you use here, is what you are going to use to set up your rover. Take note, if you do not use the same protocol, your rover will not communicate with your base. This is because the protocol is like the language they are speaking. This is SN long link. This is SN long link, and it is Sano's dedicated protocol. Transparent is popular. These other ones are popular. The transparent, the TT450S, which is the Trim Talk. Some you see it as Trim Talk. This is South. This is Mac. This transparent, the Trim Talk, and the South, they're very popular. You see it in almost every GNSS device. So this is when you want to use Sino with another brand. You want to use Sino maybe as base and then another brand. Please note that you have to use the same protocol that you know that the other brand, the other people have. So we are going to be using transparent in this demo. So our power is just a way of telling us how do you want it to work. You want it to work very powerfully or very low. So if you put it low, very low, the battery life is going to be very long. It's going to be very long, but you will not have range. You will not have range. So we're putting as 2.0 and our channel is 6. You can put a dedicated channel for yourself. You can say you want to be using 9, you want to be using 7, you want to be using 1. The default is 6. Then you confirm and then you save. So when you save, it's going to ask you When you save, you can save it in the way you want to know, so that you will know. If you don't want to be modifying, you can save it as fixed position or fixed base, depends on what you want to use to know it. And this is the fixed setting. So now we have internally do fixed position. Now, this is when you select it, you then start it. You can see that it asks you for the coordinates of the base, where the base is being set up. It asks you to put the easting, the northing, the Z. You also have to put the height of instrument. Since you are using a tripod as for the base, it's not going to be pole height, it's going to be slant. So you are not going to measure the height of the base. So you are going to now use steel tape or whatever tape you have that can surface. So you're going to use it, say this is the height now. When you use it, you then put in the, let's say this is OTS E. Code is, maybe you want to use it to know something. You can say this is E1, this is OTS. So these are codes. So every control will be OTS controls, or unless there's a different control name to it, code name to it. And these are the name E1, E2, Y1, Y2, YTT1, YTT3, YTT200. So you then put in the easting, the northing, the Z. Sometimes when you put the easting, the northing, and the Z, it usually, and then you try to apply, it will tell you error. So when you have that situation, don't panic. Just click this receive. See receive up there. Click it. So the base is just going to use exam to generate a coordinate. Then you can now edit. You can now edit and say this is your original coordinate. That's because you know the coordinate of the base. So you can now apply it. Remember, this is from the center of the beacon to the altimeter height of the base. You will see it indicated by the side of the base of your receiver. You will see either a dash or a kind of a hole on left and right. Some you will see it with line paint. So you click OK. So it's going to tell you, you're going to set up the base. So you are just going to wait for some seconds. Going to set up the base. So the base has been started successfully. Asking you, do you need to disconnect receiver and jump to connect rover? Say yes. Now it's going to take you back to the connection page. Some people used to make the mistake, instead of to go and look for the serial number of the rover, they will just click connect again. Please don't make that mistake. When you click connect, you're now going to be applying rover, the base again as rover. Please don't make that mistake. Click this serial number side. When you click it, you will look for the serial number of the rover and you connect it. We are going to just connect it. Pardon the connection is I've not paid it, and I'm supposed to pay it before the okay, my phone is refusing to connect to the device. Refuse to pay. Refuse to pay. I'll just use the base again.
Device connected.
Okay. Okay. So
Base.
the let's check what did we connect to? So connected to the M2. So it was used as a base in his previous outing. So when you have a situation like this, don't just go and go and apply, because it might have difficulty in fixing, because it will be having a identity complex. So go to device info first. You'll see the last option. You can scroll down if your own doesn't cover the whole page. You see reset and preset. You select it, and then you click preset. And then to ask you, are you sure you want to preset? You say okay. You click okay, and wait for the receiver to restart. So the receiver is going to be restarting. Just wait for some time. So if you mistakenly connect your base as rover and you apply it, or you've used your base as rover, you want to use it as you use your base before and you want to use it as rover for a site. Maybe your rover is working somewhere else. All you just have to do is reset it by clicking that preset. So we'll connect again to the
Device connected. Rover.
Okay, so now we can now go and create work mode for the rover. Now in this page, you have the mass angle, which is 10. 10 is in degrees. Set up the course letter. So for the N2, the N2 we are using, it doesn't have internal GSM. It doesn't have where you put SIM card. That's why there's no internal GSM option. So we're going to now use the same setup as our base. So we're going to now confirm. Remember, the base was speaking in transparent language. The channel is in 6, and the frequency is this. The same when you choose the channel, the frequency will change according to how it was configured from the factory. So we're going to save it and save it as internal radio. Now take note, if you are setting up your base, both internal radio and external radio, your rover will just be internal radio, which means irrespective of whether the base is set up in external radio or internal radio, the rover will be internal radio. Always ensure that when you are using internal radio for base and rover, put your whip antenna. Ensure you put your whip antenna. So when your screen is displaying in lat long, you can just tap it and to change to easting and nothing. Now we can now go to the next page, topo page, where we can now start picking our points. So in this topo page, so we have this as where you pick your points. The number on top is called occupation time. It is the amount of seconds that it will count before it picks a particular point. So you can increase or decrease it. There is this very near invisible greater than, less than arrow to go forward, to go backward. You can increase it, you can make it 1 second, you can. So when you pick it, it's going to count that amount of time before it picks. So this icon is the tilt icon. When you click it, it is going to ask you that tilt is not available, shake your this thing. So you click this, please shake or move. It will bring out this dialog box. Please confirm the pole height is consistent with the actual pole height. But the pole height on the pole, if it's 2 meters, you click edit and then you change it to 2 meters. Then you say okay. So it's on pole height, not slant. Slant is where you are using tripod. So I'm not going to do it again. Now you say the pole height is correct. Continue. So it's going to give you some instruction. I'm going to follow those instructions. Can tell you to shake it forward and backward, except you are using the Jupiter laser RTK. That one is automatic. Once you just click that the pole height is correct, it's going to automatically, the tilt is going to automatically come on. So because of where it is, we are not going to be using. So basically, this is the interface of topo survey. So we have the settings, the elements where you viewpoint that you picked. Have the map layout, the type of map, another COGO, some COGO icons. This is an offset icon. So when you go to the survey, the setting, this is where you can now do some settings. The HRMS is your accuracy depending on your accuracy for your maximum accuracy for your horizontal coordinates. This is for your vertical coordinates. So the mass DPOP is 4. 4 is okay. 3 is excellent. Is optimal. 1 and 2 is optimal. I've spoken about the occupation time, and let me just go to this. Display is what you want to be displayed on the front screen of that topo survey, so you can play around, do your setting you want to do, anything you want, how you want it to display. Okay, so that's it for internal radio. Let's add some course, how to add course. So we're going to click new, and then we're going to PDA course. So you'll be given you have the course parameter, which entails the IP address, the port, the source list that is under the server, the username and password in most cases. So you have to ensure that this protocol is not on GNSS, it's on course. Change it to course. Now in the server, you are going to now input new servers. You can go see this 3 dash. You click it. If you don't already have the IP address pre-installed in it, you click add. You type it in. You click OK. It will come back to this page. You select it and you click OK again. Now you have the one you selected. So source list means that what is the station you want to be drawing your collection from inside this server. So we have about 15 call stations. So when you click this, you're going to see majority of them. We have 2 servers. One is dedicated to Lagos and Ogun State surveyors, and the second one is for others. So you will look at the call station that is closest to where your field of operation is. It can be that you are working somewhere in, let's say somewhere in Oka. You are working somewhere in Oka or somewhere in Aoshi. You select it and you confirm. and you save it. You can name it if you don't want to go to the stress of say modifying it, going back and doing that source list, get source list. Remember, to get source list, when they say get source list, it means they say you should press this arrow. This arrow that is like download. This is a download icon. So you confirm and you name it. You name it. Name it what you want to remember it with. You can say Auchi course. You can say, okay, it's OT course. I'll just be modifying it because I'll put other course under it. I'll put other course here. So you can name it now, it's here. To modify the course, all you just need to do is, if you are using the latest version, you swipe to the right and click this right icon. This icon is for edit. Where there's a paper and a pen, it means edit. In the older versions, you will have to hold it down. You hold it down like 5 seconds. Then options will come up from under. You will see some options. Click on the one that is modify. Modify. So you go here, come back to this download icon. Click it again. Choose the, maybe you are no longer in Auchi, you are now in Benin side. You choose Benin, you confirm, and you save. So you see, the source list has changed. You can now apply. Okay, so let's add.
Not fixed.
So it's not telling us base change. That's because we've changed from the base of the one we use for internal radio to the base of the Benin course. This is the coordinate for Benin course. This is the coordinate for Benin course. So, but it's not going to fix because we are kind of inside a building and we are very far from where the course is. So look at the distance, 230 kilometer, 230 kilometers. So we're going to disconnect, and then it's the same way you are going to now add the course for, let's say you are in Lagos or you are in Ogun State. You click add and then put in the parameter they are going to give you with the login. Your login, remember, each in Lagos and Ogun State, each person has one unique login. If somebody is using it, you cannot use it again. You cannot use it. No two people can use it at the same time. If somebody is using it, and we will know that you've given your login to somebody. So you click OK, and then you click download. So these are the ones under the 18.168 server. So you select the one closest to you, and then you confirm. Then you save. You can say OTIC cost 2. So you click start and wait for it to fix. Yeah.
Fixed. Not fixed. Fixed.
So now it has changed from the base of Bini course to Aja course. This is the coordinate for Aja course. The Bini course was 230 kilo. So now you can now go and start surveying. You can now go and start picking. Why is the phone not allowing me to pick? Um, so let's do how to stake points. So to stake points, you can import the point you want to import the point you want to stake out. Always make sure that whichever format you want to use to import it, that's how it is arranged. What this means is that if you are using the CSV, it has to be name, nothing, listing, Z. That's each column. This is column. The column will bear the name. The second column, the first column name, the second column nothing, third column listing, last column Z. The same thing for these ones. So you use it, you select it, and then you go and look for where you save where you imported it to. So you can also type, if you don't have much points to stake out, you can type it by clicking add. You type one, let's say we want to stake out a point, and this is the coordinates. We say this thing is 558,480.715.
Not fixed.
Nothing is 11884.362. Can put the height if you are doing engineering, and then you say save. Can to change to the next one, but if you are done, you just need to go back. So you go to input points. You can always change it to stake out points, because I didn't change this point to stake points. I didn't change it. It's simple, but you can still you can still um you can still stake out this one you put as input point. So you see this, where did you put the one that was that one? It's still there. It's still there. Okay. So this is where you click to take you to the stake point page. You take it to the stake point page, and to tell you, give you compass. This compass is very easy for you to locate the point where the point. Just follow the arrow. The arrow is pointing this way. So it's telling you that this red place is where the point is. So just follow the arrow with the distance. I don't have network. This phone. So you are going to follow the where the arrow is pointing, and then to guide you to the point. So you can also come to this stake point page, and then go and look for the point and stake it. It's still the same mode of operation, and then you follow the arrow to lead you to the point. You can, if you are not comfortable with this one, you can use your left or front.
Device connected.
Okay, so that's all for shut down. That's all for Survey Master. I hope I'll be able to show you one or two. I hope I'll be able to show you one or two. I hope I'll be able to show you one or two things you can do so that you can familiarize yourself on Survey Master app. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sabiokin. Thank you so much for that. Please, like I said before, if you have questions, drop them in the question and answer session because we'll be attending to them short. Last part of this webinar, which will be very short, how to troubleshoot common field issues and how to care for your equipment. Over to you, Sabio Edwin.
All right. Good evening once again. So we want to move ahead, and now we'll be talking about how to care for your equipment. So, just give me a minute so I will share my screen, and then you can all see what we are doing. Sorry, please. I don't have permission to share. So
Your screen.
okay. So please Notify me if you can see what I'm sharing. Just type I can see. If you can see my screen, please type I can see. Okay. I'm still sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen, if you can see what I'm sharing. All right, thank you very much. So let's proceed. Now, in this section, we want to talk about how to care for your equipment. Also, we are still going to talk about uh, troubleshooting site issues. So when you go to site and then you have issues, maybe your equipment suddenly goes from fixed to float. We'll also talk about things that you can do to troubleshoot some of those issues that you may come across while you are working on site. And then we will now take our final questions and answer. So first off, let's start off with how to properly care for your equipment. So the first thing we want to talk about on how to care for your equipment is that we want to talk about your receiver. Now, your receiver basically is the main equipment, is the main deal. So if you remove the main receiver out of that box, what you have there is just nothing. So your batteries inside the box, the data logger, even your RTK pole, they all rely on the receiver to do their work. So the receiver is the most important part of your equipment. So you need to take care of your receiver. So the first thing we want to say, as you can see on our screen, is that you always set your receiver on a stable and secure surface. So putting your receiver in a position, most times when your receiver is working as a rover and then you have it on a pole, just keeping the pole anywhere where it can, but maybe by the side of a wall or on top of a table where it can roll off and just fall down is not advisable. So it is always advisable to keep your receivers, whether you are making use of them or you're not using them, to always keep them in a safe and secure place where nothing will happen to them and then get it damaged. So that is the very, 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 very important aspect that you need to take note of. So another thing is that while you are working, while the equipment can work on various weather conditions, it is not advisable to use it during heavy rain. If you check the specifications of your receiver device, you will see that it has a IP65 rating, meaning it cannot allow dust and water to penetrate. But even at that, the fact that it has those protection does not mean you go and use it under the rain. So it's still to an extent safe for you to use your receivers under good weather conditions. So another thing is, if by adventure, if by the situation you find yourself, means that you need to still work while even when it is raining, we normally provide shower cap and a Ziploc bag that you can use to secure both your receiver and your data logger. So this tags and this protection will hinder water from getting into the equipment. Now, those are very, very important. So in all, also if you're working on site and your equipment falls inside water, just remove it as quickly as possible and just keep it. Protection will not allow water to go in immediately unless it goes into the water and it stays inside the water for a very long time. But apart from that, if your equipment falls inside water, if you remove it and you clean it off immediately, it's still possible that the water did not get in. So, and even at that, sometimes you might still need to go for checkup and then for those cables and those connectors, and when you plug it into the equipment, it will bridge one or two of the contact plugs and all that, and that can damage your equipment. So if water enters your cable, make sure you dry off the water thoroughly before you put it again into your equipment. Another thing is allowing your cables and your ports to fall on the sand, and sand enters into those ports can also damage it. So it's not good for you to put your on the bare ground where sand and other particles can go into it. Now, if you know the download cable is a very tiny sensitive cable that has up to 7 pins inside. Now, a small particle of sand or even a tiny rock can go inside and then it will just get stuck. And when you try to plug it into your equipment, it might break. We skipped one of the points, which is never twist or rotate the limo port. So turning the cable around or twisting it can damage the cable. So you just try to roll it a little bit into a small circle and then put it inside the container that it came with. So another thing is use only approved accessories, including batteries, charger, and cables. Now, other GNSS receivers have their own cables that comes with it, the same as the way GNSS have its own cables. Now, there are some cables that can work with other equipment, but there are some that cannot. Now, if you have an equipment that can use the 7-pin limo cable, you can use it for other equipment. That means you can use your GNSS cable for other equipment, and you can also use your own for GNSS. But apart from that, there are some that are 5 pins, there are some that are just 4 pins. So you need to check for the cable you are using on your equipment if it matches the one your own equipment. So trying to force or trying to use other types of cable for your own equipment can cause serious damage. Okay, so please, for the sake of, please, I can see that some persons are not hearing what I'm saying. So if you can hear me, please signify by saying I can hear you. If you can hear me, please signify. Okay, thank you very much. If we can get confirmation from other people, it will be good. Okay. At least we have up to like 3 or 4. So thank you very much. We are proceeding. So back to what I was saying on how to care for your receiver. It's advisable to use only approved accessories, like I mentioned. So the battery that comes with the equipment, the charger that comes with the equipment, and also the cables are what we advise you to use with your equipment. Now, if it happens that any of these components gets damaged, you need to, and you want to replace them, you need to contact the dealer that will sell the approved and work it, and just putting it into the equipment is not advisable, and it can also damage your equipment. So get the approved accessories from your dealers so that your equipment can stay for a longer time, so that you don't damage your equipment. And that one is that you should always transport your equipment that you have in this. So that box is not just for fancy. They put those equipment inside the box in case of for the purpose of transporting your equipment. So going from one place to another, and then you just have your receiver on your hand, and then you are moving and something happened, it can easily fall from your hand. So even putting your receiver inside your bag sometimes is not advisable, because you can have other equipment and other tools inside the bag, and they can scratch or probably damage the equipment. So transporting the equipment inside that box is very, very, very safe, and that is what we recommend. Also, it's even easier to transport the equipment inside the box because you have all the accessories there. So you don't go to site one day and then you discover that you don't have tape, or you didn't come with pole, or you forgot your whip antenna. So everything is inside the box. Just finish your work, keep everything back inside the box, and then it will save you the stress from looking for individual accessories when you want to go to work. So just keep everything and then inside the box, and then you use that same box to carry them around. The last we have for how to care for your receiver is do not charge the logger or any of your batteries overnight. Now, we've had cases from some of our customers that the battery that we sold to them, after maybe like 3 or 4 months, the battery just stopped working. And if we tell them that is not right, that is not true, it will be as if we are trying to play wayo, or we are trying to scam. But the truth is, we've had these same batteries that we sold to other people, we've been using for years, and we've not had issues with them. So one thing we advise is that when you're charging either your receiver batteries or your data logger, the minute you notice that it is full, just unplug it from charging. Don't charge it overnight. Some persons have the habit of plugging their equipment and then they will just go to bed. It is not advisable to do that, because overcharging can also spoil your battery. So we advise that anytime you're charging your batteries, either the receiver batteries or even your data logger, once it is full, the minute you notice that the battery is fully charged, that is how to care for your receiver. And on your battery, we've already started talking about batteries already. So let's continue on the battery aspect, how to care for your batteries. Always use the GNSS supply charger for battery safety. So charging with different types of charger. Today you charge with maybe those batteries and their chargers have capacity. So they design those chargers for those batteries based on the capacity of the battery and based on what the charger can do. So using chargers from other equipment that have maybe higher or lower battery capacity to charge your own equipment can easily damage your battery. So charge your receiver batteries using the charger that was supplied with your equipment. Also, do not use or charge damaged batteries. when you start to see signs like leakage of the battery, your battery is swelling up or discoloration, it's a sign that your battery is getting bad. So what you need to do is you need to replace the battery. So once you start noticing those, because what will happen is even if the battery is still working, it will be discharging fast. It will not be as strong or as okay as when you bought it new. So all these signs are what will tell you that your battery is getting old and you need to replace it. So watch out for these signs and all these features, all these things that may be happening to the battery. So you know when to change your battery. Also, like we've said before, do not charge your batteries overnight. Another thing is putting your battery inside water is not right. Water damages battery. So putting your battery inside water, in the case that your battery falls inside the water, you can easily take it out and clean it off and dry it off immediately. But putting your batteries inside water is not right. So please don't do that. Another thing is do not store or use the batteries inside hot vehicles. So one of the things that can damage your battery is hot temperature. So what happens is that when your battery is in too much hot temperature, it will start to swell because it is a lithium battery. So those are the things that can damage your battery. Leaving your receiver battery inside your vehicle, and you know when the sun is out, your vehicle temperature will become hot and it will affect your battery. So it's not advisable to leave your receiver batteries inside your vehicle, and most especially during the day. So fully charge any new battery you buy before you use it for the first time. So it's a common knowledge that is available for everybody. When you buy a new gadget or when you buy a new thing, you just have to charge it fully so that the battery, most of those batteries, when they produce them, they have to ship them for a very long time and they stay for a very long time without charge. So their capacity and the charge that was inside will go down. So when you buy it, and charging it will help to restore the power of the battery, and then before you can make use of it. So it's advisable to charge new batteries that you buy for the first time before you make use of them. Now, the next thing is that if you are storing the receiver for a very long time, please remove the batteries from the receiver. Even when you go to site and you come back and you want to keep your equipment, do not even keep your receiver batteries inside the receiver, because you might not know when you are going to site again. Sometimes leaving the battery for 24 hours might not do any damage, but leaving it for a very long time, the same way you have remote batteries that go bad because you've not used those remotes for a very long time, is the same way your receiver batteries can go bad if you leave them inside the equipment. So bring them out of the equipment before you store them for a very long time. Also, send your equipment through any shipping company or any Okay, sorry, I mistakenly click on the mute button. So please confirm that you can hear me. Also, okay. Also, please, I'm sharing another. Please confirm that you can see what I'm sharing, so that we can proceed. Okay, so let's carry on now. Some of the issues you may encounter on site and how to get over them is what we want to talk about now. So please pay attention. Now, when you're working on site, you might have some of these issues that I've listed here. Accuracy can't meet demand. Also, can have software configuration issues. You can have hardware problems. You can have external interference. Can have fixed problem. Can have physical blockage, and you can also have issues connecting to a call station. So we'll just go through them one after the other. Now, if you're working on site and you happen to, maybe you've set up your equipment, you've connected to your base station, whether your course or your base station, and you have a fixed solution. But when you want to pick a point, you encounter this kind of message that is telling you that accuracy cannot meet. What you need to do basically is that you need to go and adjust your accuracy settings. So if you come to, on our next page, you see you see the topo survey master, the topo survey page of our survey master application. Now, if you check on the top right, here you have something like a question mark inside the circle, and then you have a battery icon. Then next to it, you see the H and the V. So these are your RMS setup. The RMS is kind of the accuracy you are getting at that point where you are trying to measure or to make use of your equipment to get your data. Now, if you check, the accuracy we are having here is at 3 millimeters for the horizontal and then 4 millimeters on the vertical. Now, under the screen, maybe at some point you want to survey this point, but under the screen you are seeing something like accuracy can't meet demand. So what you need to do is, on your topo survey page, there is a settings icons. If you see on this my screen, it is at the right side of the screen on top of elements. What you do is you click on that elements settings icon. It will bring you to this page. On this page, you see fixed is on, duplicate name is on, automatic save is on, and then save PPK is not on, ionosphere suppression is not on. But under it, you will now see the setup for HRMS and VRMS. So what you are seeing on the previous page and what you are seeing here is the same thing. The only difference is that on this page is where you get to set the limit. Now, you see on this page, we've set it to 3 millimeters and then 4 millimeters on the vertical. So if you go back to the previous page, which is the topo survey page, and you want to register, you want to pick a point, which is on this page, you want to pick a point. If the accuracy set you are getting at that point is not below 3 and 4, it means you cannot pick the point because that is what you set. Whatever you are setting on that HRMS and VRMS setting must be below what you are getting before you can actually survey a point. So what we advise is that, of course, if you are using your equipment and you are getting 3 millimeters error and 4 millimeters error on your vertical, 3 millimeters on your horizontal, is a very, very, very good enough accuracy for even for total stations. You will hardly get this for total station if you are not a careful person. So For GNSS to be giving you this kind of accuracy is a very good enough accuracy. But the only problem here is that what you ask the accuracy you set that you want to get on your equipment is very, very low, and your system cannot give you this accuracy at this time. So it will not tell you that accuracy error. So what you just need to do is to adjust what you have on this page. So instead of using 3 millimeters and 4 millimeters, you can set your accuracy to, can you see on the second page, we set it now to 0.1. So 0.1 means it's 10 cm. If you want to pick a point and you're having 10 cm error, although it does not mean you have 10 cm error, but once you're having anything above 10 cm, it will not pick the point. So you can still have your 1 millimeter, you can have 2 millimeter, you can even have 10 millimeters. Is a good enough accuracy. But from what you are setting up here, it means that anytime your error goes above 10 cm, 0.1, it should not register the point. So that is how to check your accuracy setup while you are working on site. Now, another thing we want to talk about is if you come back to this thing is to talk about your software and your configuration. So software and configuration is basically what my colleague already talked about: connecting to your course, registering your receivers, registering your applications, making sure that everything is okay. So you need to do this stuff. And then if you're having issues with this, you might need to contact your dealer to help you resolve some of these issues. But then it is actually better you check most of these things before you get to site, so that you don't have issues on site. Another issue you can actually have on site is hardware problem. Now, hardware problem can be funny because human beings that God created, sometimes you can be fine in the morning, and in the evening you're having malaria symptoms. So hardware can come up with problem at any time. But to solve hardware problems is just basically to reboot or you reset. Probably you're on site, and all of a sudden your equipment even it happens sometimes that your survey master can just crash and then it will go off. It's not a big deal. It's just sometimes overload, maybe your equipment hitting and all that can make that to happen. So what you just do is to probably turn off your equipment and then turn it back on, and then probably you refresh. So that one will solve any hardware problems that you are getting on site. Hardware problems can also be that your battery goes off, your whip antenna gets damaged on site, even your pole gets damaged, or your equipment falls down and then it's giving fault. So you can actually sort those problems by just placing the parts that is damaged, or the part that is not working, or you find an alternative. So that's for hardware problem. Next is external interference. Now, for GNSS equipment, you have a lot of interference, ranging from electric line, atmosphere, even your weather can interfere, and then you have structures that are blocking your equipment from tracking satellite. So these are external interference, some of which you can deal with, some of which you cannot deal with, like multi-part. Now, you can actually avoid having multi-part by not going close to tall buildings and tall structures that will reflect your satellite signals, that will deflect your satellite signals. So some of those external interference, you can actually deal with them. Some of them we can't. Like, before the satellite signal gets to your receiver from space, it goes through different atmospheric conditions. Those ones you cannot actually do anything about. But on the part of multi-part, it's just to stay away from tall buildings and tall structures that will be reflecting your satellite signal before it gets to your equipment. So those are some of the issues you have on external interference. And one of the most important one we have as surveyors is that you are working on site and all of a sudden your equipment goes from fixed to float. Now this can happen based on different reasons. Number one reason is because your base station is no longer sending your corrections, and if your base is not sending your corrections, your rover does not have anything to work with. It will go to float and maybe sometimes even to single. So the first thing you do in this kind of situation is sometimes you can just reapply your rover work mode. So if by adventure you were using an internal radio work mode and then going forward you notice that your receiver is no longer fixing, you can reapply your work mode. And if by adventure after reapplying the work mode it still does not get fixed, you need to go and check on your base. That's if you are working with a base and a rover. Sometimes for your equipment to just automatically go to float instead of fixing is probably because your base has gone off. So if your base have gone off, you need to go and check on your base and turn it on again. Another thing is if you are using the internet, maybe you're connecting to a call station or you're connecting to your base using the internal GSM, you need to refresh the network. Sometimes network can actually affect your equipment from going to float instead of staying at fixed. So in this kind of situation, you just check your network connection and then you reapply your setup. If it's a situation whereby you're trying to connect to call station and it's not fixing, even it can be that the server that you're streaming with, that the call station is streaming with, just went down. So if there are other alternatives to connecting to calls, or even if there are other call stations that you can connect to, you can easily do that and then you continue the work that you are doing. But most importantly, if you have fixed problem, if peradventure you have been working before and then your equipment goes from fixed to float, what you quickly do is to just reapply your work mode. Now, if you've not gotten fixed before, maybe you've been trying to set up your equipment and then it's not fixing, you will now need to check what you are making use of. So if you are working in a base and rover, you can check if you have your whip antenna. You can also check if you are using the same setup. You know, like my colleague said, it's the same setup you are using on your base is the same thing you are going to use on your rover. So if you are working with internal radio, if you set up your protocol in your base to be transparent, you also need to use the same protocol in your rover. If you are using channel 6 or channel 2 in your base, you also need to use the same channel on your rover. So these are the things you need to check up before you to sort out any fix or float problem that you are having on site. I'll give you a story that we encountered some time ago. A customer that we sold equipment from did training for everything, and then he carried the equipment and went to Ogun State. So he was trying to set up the equipment, but he was not able to get it to fix. So he called us, and that the equipment, that everything we did while he was still with us here in Lagos is working, but now he has gone to his own place. He's not able to use the equipment again. So we had to follow him up and see what he was doing. Now, what he was doing was that, you know, the base, the GNSS receiver can actually work as a base. The same receiver can work as a rover. So it's just depending on how you are setting it up. So if I say I have one N2 and one N3, I can set up my N2 to be base and my N3 to be my rover. The same way I can also reverse it. I'll set up my N2 to be my rover while my N3 will be my base. So what he was doing at that point was that when he connects to the receiver one, let's say receiver one is N3. So when he connects to N3 and then apply and set up that receiver as a base, instead of disconnecting from that receiver and connecting to the N2, he will disconnect from the receiver and connect to the receiver again and apply rover setup on it. So he was just going in circles. He was not moving forward. So the same receiver that he applied base setup on is the same receiver that he was applying rover setup on. So if there's no rover, if there is a base, you need the rover to connect. And then if there's no base and you are setting up a rover, your rover will not fix because there's nothing to connect to. So those are the issues you need to check. Make sure you are doing the right thing if you are having issues getting fixed on site. And another one is if you are connecting to a call station and you are trying to connect, is not fixing. You check your network and then you check the cost parameters that you are connecting to. It might be that you made one or two mistakes while you are typing maybe the IP address or the port number or even the base name. You did not type it correctly because there are some equipments that will not generate source list for you. You have to type in the base name manually. So all those things, if there's a small mistake or a small change, it will not allow your equipment connect to the call station. So you need to check those details and then make sure everything is correct. And if it's correct, definitely you will have a fixed solution. Now, in terms of physical blockage, like we already said, you need to set up your equipment in a place that has open sky. So there's no coverage or anything, or there's no tall building, there's no tree that will hinder your equipment from tracking satellite. So that is some of the issues you have on site. Like we've already talked about connecting to core. So are some of the issues you have on site and how you are going to troubleshoot them. So this is all I have for you today. I hope that I was able to at least communicate what I was trying to say, and I hope that you've understood what I was saying. So thank you very much, and Favor, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So there's been, we appreciate that. I hope you learned a lot. I'm sure a challenge that you must have experienced one time or the other must have been mentioned, and you'll be able to see a fast way to resolve an issue like that. So please check your setup, make sure you're doing the right thing. If not, you won't get the results you're expecting. So let's head over to the questions. So for the questions, someone is saying, my question is related to setting up on AutoBase. You made mention of a possibility of having some errors. Could you please explain this in details? If the base is tracking real-time position from the satellite and this position has been corrected on a known point, what could possibly be the error? Okay, Edwin, could you please answer the question?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. Now, when you're setting up your equipment, setting up on a control is the standard that surveying approves. You know, when they are teaching surveying in schools and in universities, they will tell you to work from whole to part, meaning you need to work from a known point to an unknown point. So working from a known point means you need to start from a point that you have the coordinate before you can start measuring points that you don't have the coordinate. Now, with GNSS receivers, you can actually generate coordinates. So of course, it's a GNSS receiver, it's a GPS, and it has the ability to determine its own location. But according to surveying, working from a known point means you have to enter a coordinate into the equipment before you can say the equipment is now working perfectly. So working on AutoBase means you're asking the equipment to generate its own coordinates. And generating its own coordinate like that means it's just like tracking coordinates using handheld GPS, because there's no way you can actually correct those coordinates you are tracking. So the only way to correct AutoBase coordinates is that you have to do what we call site calibration. Now, doing that site calibration means you take, after setting up your base on AutoBase, you take your rover to that point that you have the control, enter those coordinates of the control or of the known point into your coordinate, and then it will use that coordinate to calibrate the base. So at that point, you're no longer working from an unknown, you are now working from a known point. So setting up your equipment using auto-based and you're not doing site calibration is as working with handheld GPS, because handheld GPS will generate coordinate for you without without you entering any parameters or anything. So setting up your base with auto base is the same thing as working is the same as using handheld GPS. So you can still have errors up to 1 meter, 2 meters, and even 1.5, depending on how accurate that point you are generating is. So that's what setting up an auto base is. It's just like generating coordinate the same way your handheld GPS generates coordinates. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Edwin. I don't think we have so much question. You're asking if we can get a recording of the webinar for later. Yes, of course, you get a recording. We'll send a link to Google Drive where you can access the recording of this class. Any other question? I think most of the questions were addressed in the morning session. Yeah, most of the questions were addressed in the morning session. So please, I want to thank each and every one of us for making out time to join this webinar. I'm sure you must have learned one or two things from today's session. So I also want to remind you about this training, the complete surveyors training. The link is in the chat box. I just put up the flyer again. The link is in the chat box. Become a better GNSS expert with this training, because we'll be training you on how to use GNSS to the best of its ability. So be the best that you can be. And then if you've been itching to penetrate the construction industry, this opportunity is for you. Learn how to set out columns, learn how to do high-rise building surveys, learn how to set out piles, and so much more. So this training is value-packed. So please do not let this opportunity pass you by. We have available slots. We have limited slots available. So please click on the link. You'll get more details on how to register. There's is a paid training, and there's an opportunity for you to deposit something to secure your slot. So don't wait till you said we don't have no more spots. You have to wait for the next training. Secure your spot now. So I want to say a big thank you to you all that joined us for this webinar. I also want to say a big thank you to my colleagues that handled each of the sessions. I also want to thank my boss for this initiative of addressing our clients' concerns and allowing this webinar to hold today. Okay, Salma, you're asking, how can you resolve the multi-part error if you must carry out a job near a tall building or any other thing that may cause the multi-part error? Okay, so you're Kenneth, are you close? You can answer that. So you're Kenneth? Oh, I just allowed you to talk now. Sorry about that. Kenneth, are you there?
Okay, so multi-part error. Well, if look, can you hear me?
We can't hear you.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, so multi-part, if you must do a job near tall buildings, use total station, because for now there is no tech for GNSS that can precisely eliminate multi-part errors. So use a total station if you must carry out a job near a tall building. So you can use GNSS to pick the points that are accessible, the points that are that are not that cannot that won't be affected by the multi-parts, by the tall buildings, by the obstructions. You can use GNSS to pick it. You can then use total station to to pick the remaining ones, like the building parts and the detailing, if you must. Also, you can use laser, but in the case of laser, you might not be able to pick from the back of the building. You can only pick from where there is clear view sky. Then use laser to target the point. But what about the back? You will not be able to detail things that are at the back of the building. If there are other buildings at if there are buildings at the back and the side, the left, the right, the back, and you want to detail the back or the middle of the property. So total station is your best bet. So you combine total station and GNSS. Use GNSS to pick the points that have clear view sky. Then use total station to pick the remaining, to save you stress. Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering that beautifully. So I hope something you're satisfied with the answer. So any more question before we call it off? More question? So thank you. I want to say a big thank you to Samson. Yeah, he was here very early, as well as Samuel. Thank you so much for joining us. Chikodinaka, Mr. Chikodinaka, Mr. Abadu, Mr. Kehinde, Mr. Otobo, Surveyor Wange, Ms. Surveyor Richard. Thank you so much for staying with us up until this time. Please, if you want to get some of the innovations that were mentioned in today's webinar, the lasers, the Jupiter Laser RTK, the Mars Pro, please, you can contact us. We have them in stock, and move with the trend. Don't get left behind. We are in the laser season right now. So please, again, I remind you about the training. Do well to sign up for it. Do well to register. So until we come your way next time, do take care. Do take care and do take care of yourself. So thank you for being with us today. I also send my regards from my boss. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for staying with us. And yes, we will send the link for you to access the recording of the webinar. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
attended complete surveyors training from August 28th to August 29, 2025. We hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's supposed to do. Good at this one.